about the cost of heating, the cost of staying warm, but actually also in our homes, we also need to think about a key issue, which is the safety of living in our own homes. And it's 5 years since the horror of the Grenfell tragedy here in London. But I want to take you back a bit further. When I was running a business in central London, a property company, back in 2010, I was involved in designing a skyscraper, 2 skyscrapers actually, to get planning. And they were going to be 50 stories high. And I was absolutely astonished, aghast actually, that a 50-story residential tower could be built in modern Britain with just one single staircase. And yet the same height office building would require 2 staircases. Now, we're the home of common sense. Where is the common sense when actually you're most at risk in your home when you're asleep, i.e. in a residential tower, as opposed to being at work in the offices? Hopefully you're awake at your desk during the daytime. Where is the sense in only having 1 staircase for a tall building 50 stories high and yet having 2 staircases for an office building? Well, it turns out that not only did Grenfell Tower, they only had 1 staircase, but the previous big fire in London, where 6 people died in 2009, Lakanal House, also only had a single staircase. And you get this advice, this is what they call from the fire brigade, the stay put advice, where, completely against all common sense in my view, the building's on fire and the advice is stay put, folks. Where's the common sense in that? And my concern is that because these buildings only have a single staircase, the fire brigade are worried about people coming down, they can't get up. Surely the answer is to have 2 staircases. Well, this is still going on, despite all of these disasters. And I'm delighted to be joined now by Councillor Rabina Khan, Liberal Democrat Councillor for Shadwell in Tower Hamlets, and author of My Hair is Pink Under This Veil. Rabina, a very good morning to you. Now, you've been campaigning hard on this issue. Tell us what's going on, please. Share your thoughts about some of the current planning applications in Tower Hamlets that are trying to go through still with 1 staircase.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for having this discussion. It's a discussion that it affects many people in Tower Hamlets. Tower Hamlets has the highest number of high-rise towers in the UK and Western Europe. And sadly, just last month, we campaigned, not just myself, but people across the borough to stop a planning application. And even the London Fire Brigade had concerns about this planning application. It was 150 metres above, high-rise tower with only 1 stairwell, and it stopped. And the concern is that you spend most of your time in a residential property where you live. Why on earth would you have 1 stairwell? In a office space, you're there, you're working, you're alert. But in a residential home where you have families, older people, safety is paramount. You've got to make sure, as we go forward in this country, that we invest in making sure that we change the legal framework and have 2 stairwells. In 27 countries in the world, Belgium, Poland, the US, they have laws to make sure that any high-story buildings, residential buildings, have 2 stairwells. So why in the UK is it different? And in addition to that, Richard, if I can just finish this, it puts councillors like myself, who may sit on the Strategic Development Committee, I don't sit on it anymore, but it puts them in a very difficult position because they have to abide by the legal framework. The legal framework in the UK has to change.
And so in terms of that change, there's the Building Safety Bill going through, I think, the House of Lords this coming week, isn't there? What representations are being made to try and shift this, to change this, to amend this, in a sense, before it's too late? Because I understand that the London Fire Brigade made over 100 objections last year to single staircase in tower buildings. Is that right?
Yes, they have, and it was a very good article in Inside Housing about this. The Building Safety Bill is going through Parliament and the House of Lords. There's been a series of amendments, and there's been some very complex amendments. So we have the waterfall arrangement, which means that developers and cladding manufacturers will be targeted first, and then gradually it will go back down to the leaseholders. Baroness Kathy Pinnock tabled an amendment over 2 years ago where leaseholders should not be paying for any fire defects or cladding bills. And I think that should be the absolute must, that leaseholders should not be paying anything because it's not their fault. It's the government has to pick up on this. And just on that a little bit more, it's really important to realise while there has been an improvement and there has been changes, it's not the government willing to do this. It's because the End the Cladding campaign, people, leaseholders affected, people who have really fought hard to bring these changes. The government didn't just wake up and decide, well, yes, we are going to change the building safety bill. They were put under enormous pressure to do this. And it is the work of people and campaigners that we've seen these changes.
I think you're absolutely right. And Michael Gove definitely performed a significant and right U-turn. I don't think he's gone far enough. But with this building safety, is there still time to try and get an amendment with regard to this single staircase? Or actually, will the new regulator be able to impose this? Because I really do think this is one of the most critical issues. It's not good enough to rely on the systems in the building. If the systems go wrong, if the fire doors are not shut, then if you stay put, sadly, you're more likely to die.
Yes, we do need to bring in more amendments. One of those amendments, we had a meeting over a week ago with Baroness Pinnock and Tower Hamlets Leasehold Justice, Friends in High Places and the Cladding campaign representatives. And one of them was to make sure that we scrap the building safety manager, who would then cost leaseholders an additional, on average, £60,000. The Leasehold Knowledge Partnership campaigning group have been campaigning to scrap that, and they've done enormous amounts of work on this. So there is ample time for amendments to go through. But for me, the building safety manager must be scrapped. In addition to that, we have to talk about the sky-high insurance bills that leaseholders are facing, and they're going through the roof. Myself, Sarah Onley, the MP, Lord Newby, we wrote about this to the Competitions and Markets Authority about the insurance issue, because it effectively affects leaseholders. They'll be paying enormous leasehold insurance charges.
And Rabina, once it goes back from the House of Lords, it's going back for a final reading in the House of Commons. Is that right?
Yes, it will go through.
So there is still an opportunity for MPs also to make further amendments. So, in a sense, there's lots of campaigning and lobbying opportunities still to go ahead. Well, Rabina, thank you so much for your thoughts on that. It is such an important issue. It's so easy with all the short-term dramas going on to lose sight of these really fundamental issues about people's safety in the design of buildings. I was in the property industry, and that's why it means a lot to me. Thank you. That was Rabina Khan, Liberal Democrat councillor for Shadwell in Tower Hamlets.